Hi, I'm AM Stockhill and I'm here at Park City Fine Art where my paintings are on display. I've been working with Park City Fine Art for about 8 years now. I've been drawn to wildlife for a long time. I lived in Montana for about 16 years, which is where I began my painting career. It was kind of a natural transition into wildlife art. I'd like to bring a contemporary twist to my backgrounds with a lot of different textures. I use antique book pages that have a little bit of history, like Western novels and things like that. And I also like to use heavy textures that bring kind of that environment of the mountains into the painting. And I also like to use woven canvas too, just to give it a kind of rustic yet contemporary vibe. I started out doing watercolors and abstracts, and then got drawn into the wildlife art. And I've been working with Western subject matter for about 15 years. My first painting ever of horses was actually on antique book pages. I came across this old Western novel that was falling apart, and I wanted to find a way to save the pages and save that little bit of history. So I found a way to put it onto a canvas, and then of course it was only natural that I painted horses on top of it. And that became kind of an avenue that I've been experimenting with for the past 15 years. I'm always looking for books that are about 100 years old or older that are already falling apart, so I can save those bits of history. I'm really drawn to Western novels, and I'm also really drawn to literature, poetry, history, and magazines too, because the magazines in that time period were so interesting. The advertisements and stuff like that gave such a glimpse into what life was like at that time. I actually always find the titles of my paintings in the books that I'm reading. So as I'm sorting through pages and deciding what to use in my paintings, I'm also taking a note of titles that really jump out at me and that kind of have that meaning. And then I connect them to the painting that brings out what that title means. I used to have such a hard time with coming up with my titles. And it was actually my husband that suggested that I look through the books and find those phrases. And that was just amazing because it made that connection instead of me having to think like what words and search through a thesaurus or something like that to try to find the right title. It was already there for me, so. I listen to a lot of books on tape while I'm working, and a lot of music, some calming music during certain times of the day, and books on tape just to I guess keep learning while I'm doing this too. But it really depends on where I'm at in the process. If I'm at a more intuitive place, then I want to listen to music. But if I'm working through stretching canvas, for example, listening to books on tape keeps my interest up. I am usually working on about a dozen paintings at once in varying stages of completion. I work with so many different styles, whether it's the antique book series or the heavily textured rock wall series or the woven series or even my landscape work. And so each of those has so many steps in the process with the textures and the layers and washes of color that I'm usually working on so many things at once that my studio is organized chaos, I guess you could say, but it's always exciting. There's always something new going on. I'd say for any artist out there that's, I guess in any stage, not just the beginning stage, but any stage of creating, is to really follow your truth, like dip down into your heart and follow the things that you love. Don't let external circumstances or things influence your decision. Really just go with what you're feeling, follow your heart, and everything else will follow the course.